So we're on our way to Galesville, Maryland, which is on the eastern shore of the Chesapeake. It's north of Deal and south of Annapolis, but really a very pretty town. And, big sailing community, multiple marinas down there. So we're on our way down to see a good friend of mine by the name of Mark Clayton. And Mark is closing on a new sailboat to him. And so we're going to go witness that process and then check out his new boat. But maybe more importantly, Mark has made an important decision with his life. And really the second time he has basically sold his home, has packed up his goods, and is going to become a live-aboard sailor, which is pretty neat. This will be the second time for Mark. I believe he's secured a slip in Baltimore Harbor, which he'll bring the boat, this new boat, up to Baltimore in the spring. In the meantime, it'll stay down in Galesville. So I'm pretty excited for Mark, and I know it's an exciting time for him. We'll have more details on the boat when we get down there. So Mark, we're on our way down to see you. We should be there in about an hour, and we look forward to seeing your new boat. So, see you shortly. So we're here in Galesville with friend and fellow sailor Mark Clayton.
Yo ho.
And
Captain.
Captain Mark Clayton. And Mark just took ownership of a new sailboat for him called Imanja. And I'm going to let Mark talk a little bit about his new boat.
Okay, this is the Sunrise 35, also known as a Young Sun. I just happened to find this boat. It was actually the first boat I looked at. I went looking around at some Hans Christians in different places. Went up to Philadelphia, went down to North Carolina, different sizes. One was 33 and one was 38. But a lot of the Hans Christians were well used and had some features that were a little bit tired. And then so I eventually came back to the Sunrise, which, as you'll see a little bit later in the video, there's a lot of commonalities between the Hans Christians and this boat. So if you want to, we'll take Colonel Dan, we'll go around the hull, and then we'll go inside.
What's the year of this boat?
This is 1987.
So it's a 1987 Young Sun, built in where?
Taiwan.
In Taiwan. Similar to, you mentioned the Hans Christian because they're similar type boats. They're both full keel and they're both double enders. What attracted you to a full keel double ender as opposed to the many other types of configurations out there?
Well, Colonel Dan likes to sail fast. I like to sail in tanks. So if I hit some really rough weather, I like to be able to think that if I do everything wrong, that the boat will still survive. So that was sort of the attraction for a very stable, very heavy boat that could really go anywhere, which is eventually one of the things that I want to do.
So you said it was a 35, so that's the LOA, the length overall is 35. What's the beam on this boat?
Actually, I don't know at the moment.
All right, probably less than 12, more than 11, somewhere between 11 and 12. And then what does she draw?
It's 5 feet.
5 feet even? Okay. And then, and so obviously she's a double ender, so there's no entryway in the stern via ladder, so I'm assuming those are on both sides. You get in and out of the water from the boat.
In and out of the water from the boat?
Yes.
What are you asking me? You climb on at any point on the boat. Fall off at any point on the boat.
I think. Okay, why don't we do a quick walk around, tell us a little bit about the hull and a bit more details about the boat.
It's a full keel. It's one of the other features that I really liked. I just sold a Mary Holm International folk boat that was 26 feet, had a full keel. That was a very, very stable boat. Could make it through any number of really rough weather experiences, and Colonel Dan helped me go through a few of those. So one of the things, additional things that I liked about this boat was that we're talking about the bow pulpit is actually made of stainless steel, not wood. That's one of the features that as the boat ages really can experience a lot of rot, and you end up replacing it. So this being stainless steel is a pretty major advantage.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, and certainly has a lot of heft to it. Here is that it has a double anchor platform, so you got a nice wide platform to work from up top, and then you can deploy. It looks like at least 2 anchors. You could possibly go with 3, because that fortress could be separate, and you could actually put a different ground tackle on the other roller. So you could have up to 3 anchors, but a nice wide platform to work from. So that's great.
Yeah.
Up the hull itself, above the waterline, anything unique about that?
It was all gripped.
Is it cord? Is it?
It is cord. The hull is all gripped. Probably 10 years ago, maybe not even that long, but you can see it's in really good condition.
Right.
It's pretty shiny, and
So this here to me looks like a grounding plate. Is that correct?
it is.
So this is a lightning strike grounding plate to allow energy that is taken through the mast or the rigging to find an exit way out the boat. That's, I believe that's what that's.
Yep, that's what that is.
Yeah. So it looks like you have a 3-bladed fixed prop, probably almost 20 inches. That's a pretty sizable prop. It's mated to what size engine?
It is a Yanmar 44.
So
Horse.
44 horsepower, and that's what, a 4-cylinder?
Yes.
4-cylinder, 44 horsepower mated to it. So
It's 1986.
Okay. Yeah. Looks like it's got plenty of oomph to get you underway, and then a skeg hung rudder mounted directly to the keel, nice and secure for grounding, as opposed to an elliptical rudder on some of the more modern boats, which are susceptible to grounding. This is nice heavy-duty configuration.
Yeah, on top of that, the previous owner made this little guard plate that you can see fabricated down at the bottom. That's pretty important in the, it's a nice feature in the Chesapeake Bay because there's a whole ton of crab pots that exist. And so if you just happen to snag one of those lines in between this gap, you're going to have to go for a swim to free the line. So that's another really nice, not necessarily expensive feature that you can add if you're on the Chesapeake Bay, but actually came with this boat. So
yeah, very nice. No, that's pretty ingenious. So the line would just slip right past it.
yep.
And keep moving. There's nowhere to hook onto, really. Yeah, that's interesting. Good stuff. Okay, why don't we get on board and take a look from the top. Okay, Mark, we're on the bow of Imanja now, and near the bow pulpit and the anchoring platform. And I think what you said was spot on. I mean, nice hefty construction. It's topped off with some trim teak.
Yeah, it's just decorative. But it's
Decorative to keep you from sliding around and slipping off the anchor platform, so it gives you good footing. And it looks like you've got a dual anchor rollers. It's a pretty hefty tackle, and then mated back to a windlass, which looks to be a manual windlass.
Yeah, it's a
correct?
manual windlass.
Yeah, very nice.
And it's one of the bulletproof features that I really like about it. And it actually cranks in pretty fast, so you're not susceptible to some sort of motor or electrical failure, so you can always get your anchor out.
So as we fade out a little bit, you can see that this is actually a cutter-rigged sailboat, and it looks like the head sail is on a roller furling unit, but then the cutter sail here is a hank-on. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I'm kind of a hank-on sailing fan, so we'll see how the roller furling works for a little while. I hadn't sailed a cutter before, so one of the things that you might notice is this boom, which is interesting because this boom is just about as long as the boom that I had on my previous sailboat that was 26 feet long. This is a self-tacking mechanism for your staysail. The nice things about, or they say one of the most difficult things about having a cutter is actually tacking back and forth and getting the staysail to come across. So having the boom is supposed to take care of that and sort of be an assist. Because I hadn't sailed a cutter before, my first thought, and actually the previous owners, had this boom removed. So they essentially just used the boat as a sloop rather than a cutter. So we'll give the cutter rig a try and see how it goes.
So the self-adjustment is nice. It looks like that the sheet for that actually runs back to the cockpit to allow the boom to traverse in some free play.
Yep.
Adjust out or in. So very nice. Okay, Mark, on this boat, you see some kind of old world features that you really don't see much more on modern boats, and that's these belaying pins.
Yep.
You want to talk a little bit about those and
Yeah, they look cool.
how they're expected to be used?
Well, obviously you want to use them for lines and things. Also, you have this everything. All the halyards go to the mast, so having a platform to be able to lean against in rough weather is nice.
On the mast pulpits?
Yes.
Yeah, these are nice. Excellent. And so you've got multiple winches, and then all the lines for the mainsail are there. Okay, good.
So on my previous boat, I had a Dutchman flaking system, but this particular boat has some lazy jacks. I was really a fan of the Doyle flaking system, and I'll give the lazy jacks a try. But it could be that I'll convert back to that. But go with what is and see how it goes.
So on this boat, you've got 4 air entryways up top. You want to talk a little bit about those door aid boxes and what they do?
Yeah, actually, they provide lots of ventilation to the interior of the boat. Actually, the door aid vents are the preferred method to capture as much air as possible. One of the things that's nice about them, and the previous owners nicely painted the inside of these. A lot of on some sailboats, you'll see that they look sort of brass on the inside, so this is painted to match the trim of the boat. But yeah, you can. The cool thing about the door aid vents is that they rotate around. They're also meant to be and designed to be pull air through without water. So whichever way the wind is blowing, whether you're at anchor or whether you're sailing, you can direct the vents to capture as much air and provide a drying effect for the entire inside cabin.
So for those folks watching this that are not familiar with the door aid vent and how it actually that box works, what if a wave were to come across the front of the bow and get sucked up in there? Where would that water go? Would it go straight into the cabin?
No, not at all. So it's sort of like an S. And you can see there's vents here below. So if you actually had water that goes in, if you kind of look here, if you kind of point the camera down, you can see sort of see where these vents are. The water would just go into this box, and then the water would drain out, but the air would keep flowing around.
So the air is separated, the water is separated from the air and forced back out the box while the air continues on.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah, pretty neat invention. It's been around for ages, but still very tried and true. So.
Yeah, one of the features that actually I was just reading the latest book by, well, it's not late, it's new to me, is a book by the Pardees. They suggest actually manufacturing a mobile door aid vent box. And when you're at anchor, you can set that mobile door aid vent box over your chain locker hole to provide additional ventilation from the actual very front of the boat all the way back. So that's one feature that I'm probably going to try to take advantage of and build myself.
Very cool. So this boat, unlike some of the others that I know you've looked at, has actual teak decks.
Yeah.
What attracted you to the teak decks, and what are your concerns, if any?
Well, the teak looks nice, but it wasn't really much of an attractor as it was just something that you'd have to deal with a little bit later, because most teak decks, because if you look in the grain of the teak, you can see these little hole bungs. Well, behind every single bung is a screw, and every single screw goes into the deck. And eventually, water will find its way over time into the decks. When the survey was done on this boat, yeah, the teak decks are wet, but they are not rotten. So this is one of the features I'm going to have to deal with in the next couple of years. I think that for the time being, we'll just essentially rebed. You can see where the caulk is cracked here. That needs to be dug out and then recaulked. So over the next 3 or 4 years, that will be sort of the solution. But ultimately, all the teak will be ripped off and replaced by glass, and the bedding, the material that's under the teak will be dug out, and dry wood will be put in its place.
Very nice. So before we make our way all the way to the cockpit, I just wanted to point out these really substantial teak handrails. They are single part construction all the way back, and they cover the entire cabin top, which is really nice. Tremendous safety factor as you're moving from aft to front and front to aft, to be able to have these handholds all the way back. So pretty substantial. All right, let's go to the cockpit. So Mark, we're in the cockpit now, and obviously on these double enders, one of the things that unique about the cockpits is that they tend to be somewhat smaller. I think the thought behind that in the days was that if you were ever to get pooped, having a wave board from the rear, the cockpit wouldn't hold a lot of water in. What attracted you to this style of cockpit? What do you think some of the pros and cons are?
Well, in particular, like I said, I was looking at Hans Christian's before, and cockpit's very, very similar. One thing that's different between this boat and the Hans Christian's are that the side walls here for the cockpit that go all the way around are fiberglass in this boat, whereas Hans Christian's there are all teak wood. So I thought that was very attractive. The nice part about this cockpit is that you can get to most of the lines very quickly, and there's lots of freeboard along the decks. You don't have to fight a lot of things to get to the main halyards and the jib sheets. That's really important, especially if you're kind of out there by yourself.
It looks like you've got some pretty substantial primaries in that they're Lumar 43s, which is nice. And then on the cabin top, it looks like you've got 2 separate winches to control the rest of your lines on the starboard side, and then 1 or 2 on the port side. Is that correct?
Yes, and they're all self-tailing, which is it's very nice.
So there's 4 winches just in the cockpit alone. Very nice. So, okay, this contraption right here that's actually holding the boom up. You want to talk to us about that? That's not something you see on most modern sailboats anymore. What's that called?
It's called the gallows. It's obviously meant to sit there to hold the boom, so the boom won't fall. The nice thing about having a gallows is you have something really substantial to hold on to. The other thing is that because this boom can't actually fall, that makes the top of the Dodger, thank you. A very attractive platform for putting in some fixed solar panels. That's one of the upgrades I want to make.
Okay.
In addition to that, I think we have a 12-volt plug here. In addition to the fixed solar panels that I want to put in some flexible ones that you can actually move around the deck depending upon where the sun is. These, depending upon where the sail is and different factors, the primary solar panels may be covered, but you can actually capture a little more power just by having solar panels you can move around.
So one of the nice things about the boom gallows is that it has 3 notches. So while you're working in the cockpit, or if you're at anchor, you can certainly move it to one side or another, and then keep it out of your headroom. So is the boom gallows really removes the need for a topping lift line? Is that correct?
I don't know if I would say it removes, but it certainly adds support.
Okay, because normally a topping lift line would hold the boom up, but in this case you don't need that because the boom gallows does that for you. So the topping lift line becomes really secondary or not needed at all. So, okay, why don't we take a trip down below and check out down below Imanja.
Okay. Okay, so we're in the galley of Imanja. This is set up not unlike the Hans Christians, but there are some nice features that Hans Christian kind of didn't have. One of the things that I like is you kind of have this marble countertop here. You have also very deep sinks. You got raw water, seawater faucets as far as freshwater faucets. You have a lot of storage for plates and things around here. There's a lot of storage back here. And there is a lot of storage on Hans Christians as well. The other thing that I like is this cabinet that is kind of, it's not necessarily unique, but it is a different configuration than you would find in the Hans Christian. The refrigerator, well, is deep. It's a Frigiboat, and it's got some age on it, but you know, it works.
So Mark, on the refrigerator, it looks like both panels are top loading, but then you've also got that awesome side entries for the refrigerator, which really makes it more convenient to take things in and out of.
That's right. So you can access drinks from multiple areas. So moving a little bit forward, you can kind of see there is one of the berths is here to the to your right and my left. That's filled full of storage right now, but it is a full berth. One of the upgrades I want to make to that is actually have a mattress made for that particular space. There is also some storage. There's a hanging locker in here, and the door does shut. I may leave that door there, I may take it off depending upon how it works out.
This, Mark, I'm sorry, this aft quarter berth here, which is almost an aft half berth, is actually, what's unique about it is it's actually in its own cabin. It's a completely isolatable, separate cabin from the main cabin. Well, I think a lot of the more modern designs, the aft quarter berth is just generally open.
Open, yeah.
And there's no privacy, so if you were to have guests aboard, they'd actually have their own cabin, which is really unique.
Yep.
Especially on a 35-foot boat. So, okay.
So go forward a little bit. These are sheets that are on here now, but the cushions that are underneath of them are all brand new. That you can look at a section of it over there. It's kind of off-white. It's nice. I'll be berthed in Baltimore, and so I'll be living aboard this boat. So one of the things, the upgrades, is I want to put a very small internet TV on the back of that cabinet there. So most everybody that sits in this cabin could actually hang out, maybe watch a game or do something cool like that. Huge mirror. Wasn't necessarily a fan of the mirror, but you know, it's sort of maybe something that could break if you get something weather that's really rough. But it is what it is, and I think it's an attractive feature.
It certainly gives you a sense of a larger mirrors always inside of a boat or even in a house give you a sense of a larger room. But I guess if we did take off that mirror, it would also be a nice platform for a larger TV.
That's one use. Though I think if you did put a TV there, the sight lines would be a little bit more challenging.
Sure.
But yes, there's always a desire for a bigger TV. All right, so this is the control panel. You've got the chart table here. It's kind of in a unique position, but it's kind of out of the way. We got Bose speakers. You have a wine locker here that's nice.
So this is actually more like a liquor cabinet.
Yeah.
You can put various bottles. This is really nice because it really secures the bottle. Obviously, it goes aft, and the neck would secure here. And then you've got multiple bottles you can put down here. It's really almost a full liquor cabinet.
Yeah.
So we look forward to having that fully stocked here soon.
Yo-ho. The other thing is I also like these bookshelves. They're open. They're kind of airy. Books like to attract a lot of moisture and warp and things. So hopefully we'll have enough ventilation going through the boat where that won't be a problem. If we move a little bit further back, this is sort of the main berth. And this is a Pullman berth, which is one of the features that I really liked. Because it's a rectangular bed. You know, you don't have to sleep in the V berth. And this mattress was custom made for the boat. It actually bends in the middle. I can't remember the name of the company that made it, but it's a very nice mattress, never been slept on.
So Mark, here in the main salon again, I just wanted to point out that this main salon table, this nice little nook, actually drops.
Yeah.
And makes it level with the cushions, and then I'm assuming you have some filler cushions.
I think there is a filler cushion there.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can have probably at least 6 people on the boat sleeping very, very comfortably. So if you had 2 back there, 2 up here, and 2 or 3 here, and maybe oh, another feature that I should say is that under this cushion you can see that there are a bunch of slats. Well, this actually pulls out into about this much further, so you can actually have a much fuller sleeping area here. So in fact you could probably have maybe up to 8-9 people sleeping here.
Sure, and this certainly underway would make for a nice sea berth if you had a lee cloth hung down nice, certainly here. So yeah, you've got a lot of sleeping options with the private aft cabin. You've got a good sea berth here with you just adding a simple lee cloth, and then you've got the drop down table here in the main salon, which turns it into almost a squared off area, maybe for some smaller people on board.
Yeah.
Some kids that could easily.
This is the toddler bed.
The toddler bed, yeah. So there you go. Very nice.
So I think really the only thing that's left to see is the
So we're not going to let you get too far away without pointing out your hatches, because these are also unique to this type of boat. You want to talk a little bit about this kind of hatch?
Well, to be honest, I don't know that much about them, other than it's nice to have slidable screens. That's always an issue when you are around the Chesapeake Bay. There's lots of mosquitoes and things. It's nice to have slidable screens. Also provides a whole lot of light, natural light. One of the problems with these typically is this has a cover on it now, but it's still letting through a fair amount of light. They do tend to leak a fair amount, so I'm not sure if these leak. I don't think that they do, but in the future that's kind of been a problem that's been identified with them.
So I'll just clue the audience in. These are actually called butterfly hatches. And the reason they're called butterfly hatches is because unlike a normal hatch, which hinges just in the front or the aft in one direction, these actually open up from the sides, and like wings on a butterfly open up both equally. So these they're unique to this kind of boat, but they're called butterfly hatches, and they're very neat and very traditional also.
And
Okay.
last but not least, kind of is the head. If you want to take a sort of pan in there, and I'll step forward myself, take a seat. So the head is pretty standard. This is just a standard toilet. It's got a holding tank that sits under the bed. We have the shower. This curtain essentially goes all the way around. The shower head is here, so you can either hold that. Actually thinking about maybe mounting a bracket here, so to put a shower head there, so you can just sort of stand. Sump pump is under the Pullman berth. You've got a nice sink. I think this is going to be something that'll be replaced. The other thing about this head is you have a tremendous amount of storage. And it's just unbelievable how much storage there is here, on both sides. Here and here. The other thing that's nice is that you have another hatch that's up above, and you also have these screens that slide across. They're very nice. More storage to left and right here. Turn on that light. And then on top of that, there is this really kind of cool storage hatch in the front that you can put a tremendous amount of stuff in. and right through there is the chain locker, so it's storage on storage. This configuration is actually really attractive as far as putting in a composting toilet, because typically composting toilets have to have a venting mechanism. Having the toilet here, you could actually send that vent back and not have to construct or make a vent for that particular toilet on deck. It would just vent straight to the anchor locker. Again, you have more storage under the sink, and still more under here. So lots of storage, which if you're cruising and going places, there's never enough of it. So I think that's all for Imanja. Thinking about actually changing the name to Petite Hermione, which was the French warship that came over to help the colonists break free from England. So Imanja for now, Petite Hermione in the future. That's all.
Well, Mark, I want to thank you for taking us aboard Imanja.
Yeah.
And congratulate you. This is a beautiful boat, a fantastic boat. It has a tremendous amount of capability. She's traditional. I think she's going to be sprightly. I look forward to being out on the Chesapeake with you. But again, thanks for having us aboard.
All right, thank you, Colonel Dan. Look forward to having you on board. All right, we're done.
Again, thanks for having us aboard.
All right, thank you, Colonel Dan. Look forward to having you on board.
All right, we'll cut
Just wanna
that
have a
piece
good
out,
time.
all that Colonel Dan stuff. This is a sailing channel, not a
This is Colonel Dan,
we'll cut all that out.
as opposed to Lieutenant Dan.
We're done.
We're going to keep that.
We're going to cut all that.
All right, we're done.